So the Xiaomi Mi 5 gets an upgrade. The Mi 5S now has a Snapdragon 821 processor, which is the fastest you can get on Android at the time of this review. It now has NFC support, a new alloy rear housing, as you can see, no more glass. And what we have lost is the IR blaster from the top is gone. We also lost optical image stabilization with the new 12 megapixel sensor. So let's have a look at it in greater detail. So to quickly walk you around the device, we have the new ultrasonic fingerprint reader, a USB Type-C port, microphone and loudspeaker. Now on the left side we have a dual SIM tray that takes 2 nano SIMs that support 4G. On the front we have Gorilla Glass 4 2.5D glass or Dragon Tail. That hasn't actually been confirmed. A 4 megapixel front facing camera, ambient light sensor and earpiece. And on the rear, the new alloy body, you can see no more glass. And we do have the volume up and down buttons and the power on button made out of metal, dual tone LED flash, secondary microphone and the 12 megapixel camera. So it has the same 5.15 inch 1080p display that was in the Mi 5. Now it's not a bad 1080p panel at all, with good colors, deep blacks, but you will notice that there is still the black bezel around the screen, and it's perfectly viewable here in the shade. And in direct sunlight I can still make out what is on the screen, launch applications, send a text message and use the phone dialer without too much difficulty. So the build quality of it isn't bad, it has a premium feel to it. The new alloy rear housing that it has on it does feel more solid than the glass that was used in the previous Mi 5. And in hand, the easy access to those volume on and power buttons feels nice and light at only 150 grams. And I do like the build of it. It's not bad, but still not quite up to spec of the latest Samsung and Apple flagships. So the ultrasonic fingerprint reader works really well. I find that it works literally flawlessly. 9 out of 10 times it's going to work for me. Even with a sweaty finger, wet finger, it'll unlock the screen without any problems. So how does it perform? Well, I found that the Miui 8 ROM is very quick and snappy, and I haven't experienced any lags or stutters. Now Miui is not going to be for everyone. This is a custom skin that is over Android 6.0.1. You're either going to love it or hate it. Now you can see that my ROM, because it's the Chinese and English only version, I've got some apps there that keep popping up with all this Chinese everywhere. That's something to bear in mind if you're going to get it early like I did. But I would say wait for the global ROM and then you won't have any Chinese there at all. So the Miui does have some features that are quite handy. It has double tap to wake. You can actually run dual applications. Now why that would be handy, having 2 of the same app, because it's dual SIM, we could run, for example, WhatsApp twice. Now I have tested this out and it is possible to do it. So I have a look at some benchmarks, and just to show you how it performs in a general. But it is very snappy. And battery life. One of the most important things as well, here we go, it gets almost 10 hours in PC Mark with the display calibrated to 200 nits of brightness. You see that the mobile signal strength there was quite good, wireless was on. And a screen on time of 8 hours and 20 minutes I think isn't bad, considering it has a very powerful chipset and a 3200 mAh battery. Geekbench 4 score. You'll see that the Note 7 was just a little bit faster there, and 226.2.1 score. You see it actually topped out their list there, but that needs to be updated. And the internal storage, very quick with a 407 megabytes per second read speed and 172 write. That is probably one of the fastest I have seen on a mobile phone. Now 4G speeds, very good. Call quality also is excellent, and the wireless range also excellent. Slingshot ES 3.1 score, Ice Storm Unlimited, this is 3D Mark, and that is that for benchmarks. So what about gaming performance? So it has a Snapdragon 821 as mentioned, and Adreno 530 graphics. Now the screen is only 1080p, so it's very easy for this GPU to get a smooth, fluid 60 frames per second in literally every single game I have tested. I haven't noticed any micro stutters that I sometimes see on the Snapdragon 650 or 652. It works very quickly, super smooth, and extremely playable every game out there you'll try. And GPS performance is perfectly fine, getting a lock very quickly in a matter of seconds. So a quick rundown here of the camera. So we got camera modes, the typical that you see in Miui 8. Manual settings, get manual controls there, control ISO, focus, exposure time, but unfortunately no control of the shutter speeds. Now we do have various different filters there. Swapping to the front facing camera. And video mode. The shutter lag is actually really good, no problems with it. In good lighting conditions, it's extremely quick. I would say instantaneous, really. Now the modes we get in camera mode are only slow-mo, which is 720p, and that records 120 frames per second. I found the quality to be quite disappointing. We can adjust a few settings in here, so video quality goes all the way up to 4K. Now 4K video does not have image stabilization. Now this is digital, there is no optical image stabilization. But if you drop that down to full HD, then we do at least get digital stabilization. So I'll show you now a quick few camera samples. We'll start off with 4K and then the front facing camera, followed up with a few images taken on the rear 12 megapixel camera. And now let's take a look at that rear camera. So it can shoot in 4K maximum. It has an f2.0 aperture. I did find that the audio quality is quite disappointing. Now the bitrate is only 96 kilobytes per second. It's definitely lacking compared to other flagships. And with no optical image stabilization, images tend to be quite shaky, and you're probably going to need a tripod if you want to get any decent kind of video. Now it does have phase detection autofocus, which does work, but there are some breathing issues now and then you'll notice with the focus going in and out. And now a 1080p sample. With 1080p you can enable digital image stabilization. So I'm just going to walk along now, and you'll see it does a reasonably good job of keeping things steady and taking the shake out of the image. There's a sample from the front-facing 4 megapixel camera. It has an f2.0 aperture and it can record up to 1080p max. Now I find the video quality isn't bad at all, but once you get into low light, the frame rate will drop down and it does get a bit choppy. And finally, a low light video sample. This is shot in 4K again. Alright, so to wrap up my findings here, I find that this is a very fast phone. A Snapdragon 821 performs really well. This plays all the latest games, super smooth, super fluid. You're going to experience no lag whatsoever, and the UFS 2.0 storage that it has is blazing fast for a mobile. So performance-wise, really good. The build quality is good. I find it's slightly better than the Mi 5 because it does now have a stronger material, which is alloy on the rear, so not susceptible to getting scratched and cracking like glass would as much, and it just feels more solid in hand and better overall. Now the performance of the camera I find to be very disappointing. They hype this up to be an amazing camera, and it is an amazing piece of hardware that it does have the sensor, but we lost optical image stabilization, which is a real shame, and that results in very shaky 4K video. Now 4K video also has a lot of artifacts in it, focusing issues, and the bitrate of audio and video I find to be too low for a flagship. Now it does charge very fast, the call quality is excellent, wireless range and speed too, really good. So it's not a bad phone, just that Xiaomi really needs to step up their game when it comes to camera performance. They have a lot of tweaking to do, the hardware is there, they just need to focus on improving that, and hopefully they will. Thank you so much for watching this review. Now, I will have the review of the Mi 5S Plus coming up hopefully next week or so. So do keep an eye out for that. And if you haven't already, why not think about subscribing if you like the review. See you soon.